plants on my back. The apartment, I'm back. All right. I am inside. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, that's us. We're live. Oh my goodness. That's us. Oh goodness, we're live. Ooh. All right. I think we're live.
It says live.
Yeah.
I know, but we're gonna find out from the peoples. If you're seeing us, can you just say on the comments that you're seeing us and that we're live? Hey, hi, welcome everyone. We're so thrilled to have you all here. Welcome to this Working Actor Forum. Are you? I don't know if we're live, y'all. I can't tell on the live itself if we're live. All right.
We always.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Yeah,
We're gonna trust it's happening. Hey, everybody. I'm Chandra Thomas. So delighted to have you here for the Working Actor Forum. This group of people that you are seeing are powerhouses. So you are in for such a treat. Before we start speaking to them, though, I want to make sure we are all on the same page of why we're here. So first, welcome. Thank you for joining us from your couch, your car, your imagination. We're glad you're here. The Working Actor Forum is being presented by Greater Film Festival. We are a film festival dedicated to amplifying stories for the greater good. So this event is right in the world of what we do. We're doing this event in partnership with Networking for Career Filmmakers, a wonderful Facebook group moderated by the ever so fantastic Jessica Mata. You can see more information about them on Facebook, and we're so glad to be partnering with them on this special conversation. So why this forum, and then why Chandra? So first, let's say why the forum. So right now, as so many of you are super aware, not only are we in the midst of COVID-ness, but we're also in the midst of some serious conversations and shifts and changes that are long overdue, not only in the country at large, but in this industry. And artists are always at the forefront of change. And so this conversation is right in line with that. How can we as creatives bring the best and the most to our art form, our expression, our contribution to storytelling to be part of those shifts of change? And so this conversation is right in line with all of the other ones that we should be and hopefully are having right now. And then why Chandra? Well, because I'm also an actor. I'm a multi-hyphenate actor, writer, producer. As an actor, I have worked on a lot of different stuff, and I'm grateful for that. Currently, as a writer, I am a writer on the television comedy series Mom, and a producer in many different ways, not the least of which here in the Greater Film Festival family. Cool. Let's get into this conversation, y'all, because I want to hear these people talk. All right, let me do bios because we got a lot of prestige in here. Okay, first of all, I'm excited to introduce Nanrisa Lee. Her most recent credits include SWAT, American Housewife, 911, Grey's Anatomy, and she's recurred on The Morning Show. She's on Apple TV+. And Bosch, aside from being an actor, she is a full-time YouTube binger and self-improvement enthusiast. Hey, Nanrisa.
Hey, Chandra Thomas. Lovely to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having
Laura Patalano. She began her career in her native Mexico after graduating from El Instituto de Escenico.
Arte
Thank you, because I wasn't prepared to read Spanish today. Thank you so much. I love you, Laura. Where she was trained professionally. Her recurring television credits include Gentrified, in which she played the role of Beatriz Morales, the L Word, Generation Q, when she plays the role of Nana, and Victor and Valentino, when she plays the voice of Grandma Chata. Laura, I always call you Laura because, you know, that's my love name for you. Laura's also worked on Vita, Bosch, The Politician, Mayans MC, and Shameless, just to name a few. She's also the proud mother of twins, and she loves painting, making jewelry, and creating other artistic pieces in her spare time. Let's say hi to Laura. Hi, Laura.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be with this group of very talented actors and
Oh,
Filmmakers. It's an honor. Thank you so much. I'm so
thank
thrilled.
you, Laura. My pleasure. Thank you. Devere Rogers is a graduate of NYU Tisch School of the Arts who has appeared in numerous television shows, including Will and Grace, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and Grey's Anatomy. You can catch him right now in Sherman's Showcase on Hulu, the gay series on YouTube, My Spy on Amazon Prime, and in the upcoming comedy feature Tank House. He's also writing and developing several projects for television. Hi, Devere.
Oh, Chandra, how are you? I'm so blessed to be here with all you beautiful folks.
We're the blessed ones, for sure. And Dionne Audain is an actress, model, and voiceover artist whose work spans film, television, and stage. Born in Montserrat, West Indies, she is both a US citizen and a citizen of the UK. She is currently auditioning and working during COVID-19 with all the safety protocols in place. She's going to share some of her war stories. Hey, Misty. Uh-oh. You're on mute, I know.
Hey, Chandra, thank you so much for having me. Hey,
Yay.
everybody. So honored and blessed to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So excited.
And last, but certainly not least, Behzad Dabu is an actor, writer, activist based in Los Angeles. You may have seen him in his recurring role on How to Get Away with Murder or The Shy. He's a founding member of the Chicago Inclusion Project and a proud company member at Timeline Theater Company. Hi, Behzad.
Hi, hi, hi.
Hey, so that's our panel for today. Let's get into this conversation, y'all. So first of all, I mean, I've been checking in on y'all just to make sure everybody knows this is like family conversation. So you're gonna get to see like all the family combo right now. But so I know, but let's tell the people, how are you all doing in this time? Like what is keeping you busy? What is not keeping you busy? How are you navigating? Let's just start, setting up our baseline. How are you doing? And anybody can start.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I mean, just being honest, like things have been good considering the not great circumstances. I think I've just been trying to stay active. I mean, as far as being an actor, I have a rehearsal group that I jump into every single day. That helps to regulate things for me and keep me accountable, stay vulnerable, and continue to build my community. And I'm just going to be real. I'm in therapy. I make sure I hit that therapy twice a week because I must take care of my mental space. I feel like there's so many things that, especially I think if you're isolating alone, if you're lucky enough to isolate with loved ones, that you can talk those things over. But if you are spending a lot of time by yourself, we're spending a lot of time in our heads. And I feel like just trying to make that a priority to take good care of that, whether it's therapy, meditation, eating good, watching TV.
Right.
It's been a challenging time for me.
Yeah.
I live with my twin daughters, thank God, because I can hug them all day long because I'm very physical. I need that, If no, I don't know, I would be crazy. But I start doing a lot of art, painting, and I do voiceovers at home. So that's been helping, but it's already like I really need to my social life. I read the red carpets, all this, the activity that I always have. I miss it. Where is my people? Where is my family? So
I love Laura goes.
For me, so I am dying to go back to work.
I love it.
Regular basis.
I love that you point out I miss the red carpet. I love that. I'm like, yes, Laura. I'm right there with you, girl.
Deep truth.
I'm quarantining alone, and that is really hard. Families across the country, and so being a single dude living alone is hard during quarantine, but it has given me a lot of time to write. So I've been writing more than I've ever written. So from March to today, I've written more than I've written in the last 5 years combined.
Wow.
So that's been like the one blessing. And then combining that with the feeling of like, you don't have to be productive just because you have time, So sometimes I go through days where I'm like, I'm just going to watch a lot of TV, which I've done. I've watched a lot of TV, read a lot of books, listened to a lot of podcasts. So I've been consuming a lot of art. I feel like when I get out there, I'll be ready to
I love it. I love it. Again, since this is a family conversation, I can say this. I love how Behzad squeezes. So I'm a single dude.
Oh yeah.
And like, it's just a little like camera angle.
You knew that was gonna happen, Chandra. You knew that was. He always like to throw that in there.
What's that in? Like,
There's nothing wrong with that.
Like, throw that out there.
Nothing wrong with that, Behzad.
That's
Let us
not
know.
even true. That's not even true. I just needed to say I'm alone in this quarantine.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I'm alone in this quarantine. I got friends with roommates and lovers and fiancés. I'm alone.
Listen, I'm going to
Come
send
find
you
me
my
on
phone
Facebook.
number.
oh,
I'm
no.
going to send you my phone number so you don't feel lonely. When you need to talk to someone, I will be here. Okay?
Love it. Yes, Lauda. Come on.
I am isolating alone as well. So
Yeah.
shout out to the solo isolators.
Yeah, it's tough.
And like Nanrisa, I have a weekly therapy appointment with my Actors Fund therapist, which is absolutely free of charge because the Actors Fund is an amazing social service organization that has so much wellness. So I have been in therapy for a year and a half. And so every Wednesday is Wellness Wednesday. I take that day off. It's a day for myself. It has been so good during this quarantine. In the beginning, I was doing all the Zoom classes and acting classes and, all of the self tapes and the competitions. And then I just stopped everything. And being, quarantining solo, there's a lot of introspection time. And to echo what Behzad just said, I realized that not because I have the time mean I have to be artistically productive. Because just breathing, I'm being artistic. So, because there's this pressure I was putting on myself. No, quite honestly, I was like, I need to write, I need to do this, I need to do that. And so staying sane, I ate everything. But then I kind of got myself back and I bought about 150 pounds worth of sand from the hardware store and created weights for myself because I have to stay active. I have to stay fit. And then auditioning and shoots. So I'm grateful to have a balance of me time, work time, audition time, self-tape in person, and then being on set.
I so appreciate hearing that because I'm still in the I need to do stuff part of quarantine. Everybody else I feel like has moved into the more blissful part, and I'm still in the I got stuff to do.
I mean, yeah, I'm on the fence.
Well, I think what's crazy for me is I feel like, considering the times we're in, this has been a great time for me only because it gave me the time to sort of focus on my other hyphens. You know what I mean? Because I've been working so much, not to brag, but I've been working a lot. And so it was, no, but I just meant in the sense of to be able to take the time to be oh, there's this script I want to write, or, oh, there's this thing I want to produce, or, oh, there, you know what I'm saying? That I used to put on the back burner because I was I'm auditioning, I'm on set, I'm doing things. So just having the time to just sit and be with yourself and be there's no excuse for you not to do X, Y, and Z. For me, it was great for me because it sort of put the fire under my ass to be okay, so that script that you said you wanted to write, there's no excuse for you not to write it now. So just do it. And I was okay, so, but I do think there's a balance, I think there's a balance between getting things that you want done and also just chilling out, because I tell everybody, especially in my circle, I'm this period is the time where you have to have grace with everyone and everything and yourself. So it's everyone is dealing with this differently and you have to have grace towards it all,
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I will take a word of grace. That's beautiful. Fantastic. All right. So, we have to start from the beginning. What or when did you know, actor, that's what I want to do? Tell me the stories.
I've been modeling since the age of 2 and performing. So I got a couple of decades of this. I didn't ever think I was a showbiz kid. So I did the straight and narrow for a while because I don't know. I guess that's what I thought. So I did, college, grad school, master's degree, corporate job. But I have about 2 to 3 decades. Yeah.
I was always telling stories, and I grew up lower middle class, grew up in an apartment in upstate New York, and there was a back way that I think about it now super dangerous, but as a kid there was a back way to get to my friend's apartment, and I was going and I just randomly the chain on my bike fell off, And when I got there, they were like, how the chain on your bike fell off. And I didn't think about it. And I was like, some dudes jumped me. And they were like, some dudes jumped you? I was like, yeah, they jumped me. They didn't take your bike? Nah, they just took the chain off and let me go. They didn't beat you up? Nah, they just, and I just made up this whole damn story. And then they like were like, you're lying, because they would have taken the bike, they would have hurt you, they would have done something. And I was like, nah, they messed up the chain. And so I was like, boom, boom. And then that has just elevated to like tell stories. So give me an outlet for this. And that turned into like modeling and stage and doing little like Shakespeare skits, into school plays, into just like constantly doing that until I was like, maybe I could do this for a living. And then that's what happened.
Love it. Love it. No, they just took my chain, son. That's it.
That's it. For me, I was 6 years old. I saw two things that changed my life and told me I was going to be an actor, entertainer. I saw The Wiz, the movie, and I saw Thriller by Michael Jackson, the music video. And I said, this is it, y'all. I'm doing this. I told my parents, I was like, I'm gonna be an actor, singer, dancer, all that stuff. And I've been doing it ever since.
I love it. I know they looked at like, you in Atlanta, bro? Like,
right? Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Nanrisa, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, mine was, I think, kind of normal. I started doing it in like middle school, I think, once, I think probably for a lot of, I'm going to make a general statement. I think probably for a lot of actors, when you get up on stage, the first time you hear that applause, someone's clapping for you, you get a little validation. That felt good. And I think also being from the Bay, I'm born and raised in Oakland, and I think there is a little bit of an industry here, but it's kind of big fish, small pond. So, I'll be honest, I was pretty, I felt like I was like, oh, this is not that hard. And then I came down to LA. And then it was different. It got a little different, but it was good because I learned how to act after that. Do you know what I mean? Like, learned how to do things like listen and prepare and have a point of view, But that's how I started just in middle school. I mean, I've always been, a little dramatic. So that came natural.
Love that.
Well,
yes.
For me, I guess when I see my childhood, all my games were related to something that I needed to act in front of somebody, but nobody guided me to that way. So when I was in high school and I joined this after school program for to be an actor or to just to play, my teacher, that he was a very well-known director back then, he came to me and he said, you have the gift. You have to do this for a living. You need to go to school. And I say, why I need to go to school if I'm good? You just said that I'm good. I don't need to go to school. But actually, he bugged me until I went to school. And then thanks to him, I'm here, Alejandro Vichir, but he discovered it for me. I didn't know that I had the capacity to do it. Pretty much.
I love that. I love that the stories of like somebody investing in you, right? And saying like, you need to do this. Like that, I feel like such a big part of the artist journey. And you touched on something actually that I was gonna speak to too, Laura, of like hearing from you all. We always hear actors training, school, blah, blah, blah. And then I also hear, there's that wave of people like, well, if you have talent, you just do it. What are your experiences? What are your thoughts? I know what y'all already think, but y'all tell the people.
Oh no, you need to go to school.
You gotta train.
You gotta train.
You have to train.
You gotta train, and you gotta go to therapy.
Right.
I think you have to train. I think I owe so much to my training. I get really upset every time I get the student loan bill, but I also am like, I owe a lot to training. I had amazing training. I felt very fortunate. I've learned from true masters. And so I feel really lucky to have that. But it's so important because I see so many people come out here and be like, I'm good, right? I can do this. I'm pretty. I'm this. I'm that. And it's like, no, you need training so that you can have a vocabulary to be able to work with anybody, because you're good and you're pretty, and that might be good for this sitcom or this network drama. But you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to work with this person from this country on this sort of thing, and you'll be able to do it because you have a common vocabulary of training. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think we're really from people that I've talked to, because look, I think that there are a lot of people in the industry as well that have been in since they were 2 or 5, or been on series regulars, been series regulars since they were 10, and they came up and they've never had training, and great. good for you. I wish that was me. Do you know what I mean? I think the great thing where training comes where is clutch is if you make a show that might, you might be able to get on a show and your natural talent, people just think you have a magnetic ability. But if that show gets canceled in a year or two, and then you do a round of auditions for a year or two and can't book anything, and then you get in your head, you don't have a lot to rely back on in terms of a foundation of getting you, okay, where do I need to start? How can I build a character? What is my process exactly? Versus, someone who might be able to quote unquote feel it and like be the character very naturally, which is great. But I think if you want to work professionally in the industry, especially on camera, especially on stage, you need a foundation to go back to when everything isn't going your way.
Love that.
Absolutely agree. You have to have a toolbox. And I mean, for me, I had something to prove because I didn't go to acting school or I don't have an MFA. I came up in the streets of acting, I like to say. So, Vera Katz was my acting coach and she taught at Howard for 30 some odd years. And I studied with greats in DC at the Kennedy Center, at the Shakespeare Theater. Like I had something to prove to myself because I was going up against the Muffas, the Buffas, the Tishes, the Juilliards. And I was like, I can't come in here like, I feel it. I'm talented. It's like, no, boo. Because when that fails, I have to have a toolbox to pull from to be consistent and hit my mark, whether I'm doing 7 or 8 shows a week, or I'm doing, a top of show guest star. Like I can't just be like, well, let me see. No, I have to be consistent and to go toe to toe with the greats, right? So yeah, training is super important. Not training in lieu of working, but training to bring yourself to the craft, because there's people who take classes to avoid actually doing the work. Mm-hmm. So we have to be careful, but yeah, you got to train.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, I don't think that training necessarily means, look, if you had the great fortune to go to Tisch, Juilliard, Carnegie, many.
Columbia.
Columbia College, Chicago.
Not the Chicago one.
Hating on the Chicago one, I will say this. I went to the Chicago one and I liked it better than my master class at the New York one.
I believe it. But anyway, go ahead, Nanrisa. We just, family talk. Go ahead, mama.
Conversation. I think that it doesn't necessarily, by training, when I talk about that, I don't necessarily mean a BA, an MFA.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, right. In your community, if you're in LA, New York, Chicago, wherever you are, right, you can research classes, standalone classes. Then when you feel good about that, you can move on to another thing. This is for people out there who want to get started. Where do you want to start? Do you want to work on camera? Do you want to work on stage? Do you start with a scene study? When you feel good about that, do you want to focus on camera or voice work or animal physicality? There's so many things you could study. And if you don't have like formal MFA, BA, bachelor's training, then like college, then you can absolutely take those classes one at a time.
Yes.
And if you know actors, ask your friends what they thought, who they loved the most, who they thought would be good for me, or you. And then if you keep asking, you'll start to hear the same names kind of pop up in your area. You can start to check those people out just for just people who might be watching.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
I just want to say, just training wise, it also prepares you for the longevity of your career. Because I feel like that's what a lot of people, they get caught up in the now and I just want to work right now and I just want to be on right now. But it's like, this thing is a lifelong career that we're doing. This isn't something that you just stop. You can stop, but it's like, I plan on doing this as long as I can. And when you have that training and that foundation, you have the toolbox and the things to be able to do this now and 40 years from now and still deliver, so.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Exactly.
Yes,
sprint,
exactly. I always tell the young fellows when they ask me, I say, have respect for the craft.
Got to.
For any other career you learn, for this one too. Was that?
Absolutely, Laura. I love that. Yes. And that's the thing, right? It is a craft. Like so often, especially if you're in one of the big cities that are hubs for this work, so often it's just like, well, you could just do it. And so I love the like very specific and detailed reasons that you all gave about why training and ongoing training is so important. Not the least of which, so you can be in the room, so you can be in the mix, so you have something to pull from when you're heading up to set. I just want to say, Nanrisa,
that like if you're not in a major city, again, COVID. Like there are so many online resources. If you're in like, I don't know, Poughkeepsie or Boise or something, do you know what I mean? Where you may not have like dozens and dozens of places to choose from. You can, save up your money and subscribe to Masterclass or go and check out Sundance Collab is a fantastic free resource. There's a lot, dig around on the internet. There's a surprising amount of information you can find to just get a leg up to see if you even really want to invest your money in something like this.
Absolutely. That's so spot on. Behzad smiled when you said Poughkeepsie because he was like, that's a big city from where I'm from. Like Poughkeepsie was like, that was like Paris.
This is now, we've been on this call for less than 30 minutes. I've gotten 3 digs from Chandra for no reason. For no reason. I'm from Syracuse, New York, which is a bigger place than Poughkeepsie. I also have.
That's where I went to grad school.
Pride. I have 0 Syracuse pride. It's trash. What? I just laughed because
dinosaur barbecue, baby.
Yeah, that dinosaur barbecue is basic. I just laughed because she said someplace really far away. I'm like, Poughkeepsie is like less than an hour from New York.
Sorry, this is the first thing that came in my head. I'm a West girl.
Like Poughkeepsie's hella close.
Poughkeepsie's not Manhattan. I understand, Nanrisa. I understand.
No. I love that.
But you can get from Poughkeepsie to Manhattan quicker than you can get from Los Feliz to Santa Monica. That's for
sure. Can. That's real. That's very real, actually. And one of the things that you kind of alluded to, Nanrisa, that I also want to point out is sometimes training is not, if you can't get to your pocket might be a little tight right now, especially we're in COVID. You might not necessarily be able to train in a class or in a studio or what have you. There are so many free resources that are available, and also your community. Like, cool, put together a group of people to do like audition tape practice with each other, or going through material and working on material. Like, you can actually continue to hone the craft, even if there are circumstances that are not ideal for you to go to an MFA program or to take this class with this guru or that guru. So yes. Spot on. Great.
That's also training with the craft. There's also ways to train in the business. You can read Deadline every day.
Oh, yeah.
You can really understand IMDb Pro. You can get back and understand how the agency works. What's the difference between a co-star and a guest star? You can take all the things that your union offers. You could really try to understand how episodic season works, and you can ask to shadow directors, and you can ask to be assistants in writers' rooms, and there's all sorts of things you can do that are free. Or just need the internet. I mean, a lot of times I have friends in the industry who've been in the industry and gone to the buffas and the muffas, and they're like, wait a minute, how does the guest contract work? It's like, see, that's just reading Deadline to understand what that is. So just read Deadline.
Thank you for the business side, because I'm always the business girl, so I was trying to be all craft. trying to be on the craft level, but like,
I'm about my business. Come on.
You gotta be
you
about
already know.
Show business, girl. Lisa, show business.
Listen, you're not telling me. I do the business. I'm about the business more than the show. Like, can we talk about
a lot of actors fail to understand the business part.
Listen, come on through with the business side. And yes, let's talk about that. What are the things that you feel like actors, maybe even working actors, and I'll take off the air quotes if necessary, don't know about the business, or things that you think like, oh, these are the things that people need to really be thinking about on the business side of this whole equation?
They think that your talent is going to take you there. It will not. I am so sick, and this might be controversial, but I'm so sick of friends being like, but I'm good. Or
nobody cares that you're good. Everybody good. This is the Olympics.
Good. Or that my writing is good, or my whatever's good is like, yes. I always say
all
this.
Spartans.
I always say this to people. I'm like, being on time and being good and being coachable and stuff like that will get you not fired. Because if you're late and you're not coachable and you're just gonna get fired. Right? So all of that stuff is to allow you to keep your job. But no one's going to hire you because you're on time and because you're good and because you're kind. You're not going to get hired because of those things. And so I'm really sick of that sort of myth that gets passed around. As long as you work hard and as long as you do this, it's like, no. You also need to understand the business. And so one of those things is like, what are you auditioning for? And how can your goal is not to be the best actor you can be in this audition. Your goal is to give the best audition you can give. And that is a different thing than being the best actor you can be. Because if I'm auditioning for a show that needs me to do this, that might not be the same thing as best actor, but this is the thing to give the best audition. And so it's just it's a different type of thing. Like, and I want people to understand tone and understand context and understand what they're going for to get cast, not just to be the best.
And also you need to know who you're auditioning for.
Come on now.
Who are the creators? Who is the casting director? What is the tone of their shows before? What have they done before? Like, you have to be so knowledgeable and do your homework for any and every audition you go in. Because if you're going in for a show for Ryan Murphy, he has a very specific style and that is different from Shonda Rhimes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you being in the business of the business, you should know that going in. You know,
and that's step one on an audition. Like, you know, I know so often we're like, oh, we want to read the sides and we want to get the script. Step one is, who am I auditioning for? And what do I need? What are the clues? What are the cues that I need to take from who this is and who they are in this business, what their material, what their product looks like, in order for me to prepare accordingly. Yeah.
And let's go deeper than that.
Come on, go deeper, Behzad, single.
Who am I auditioning for? Who are they rep by? Am I rep by the same people? Can I get my manager to write their manager a thing before I even go in the room and say, or can I say, oh, look, one writer is rep by this management company, one actor is rep by this management company, 2 more people in that company, it's considered a package that's better for everybody. Why don't we like push with that? I mean, there's so many things to think about to get jobs before you're even in the room to already get pushed to the next level.
Oh, yes.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
And then someone is going to be sitting at home being like, I did a really good job in that audition and I didn't get it. And it's like, because somebody else was packaged. It's all bullshit, but play the game.
Yeah.
Or at least know the game you're playing.
Or at least know the
game. Thank you, Nanrisa.
Because I think there's so many actors who don't know that you have to play the game. And also, I tell so many people all the time, it's like, you could be the best actor in that room that day, but if the director has already offered the part to his friend, your great audition doesn't matter because the director offered the part to his friend, and you have to know that. So that's why I tell people, don't, beat yourself up or, be upset because you didn't get a callback or you didn't book that thing, even though you killed your audition. It's like, you don't know how many tapes all of us have on this call that are fucking bomb, and we didn't even get a callback. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it has nothing to do with that.
Or you have a bomb
hold up her hand like she in 3rd grade. Like, oh,
you scheduled for the callback, but before you even get to the callback, they booked the job.
Yeah, I mean, that happens, I mean, I feel like I interned at a casting office, a known casting agency for 6 months. When I had the time, I did it for free, because at the time you could. It was an invaluable experience. I mean, the first thing I learned from like probably the first or second session that I was sitting in on is, listen, we love you, I love me, but it's not about you. It's an overall composition. Do you know what I mean? So, if the lead is brunette and you're brunette and you don't want to dye your hair, like, you probably might not be her best friend. If it's 4 women and they already have 2 brunette, do you know? Little things like that, as big as other things like, as I said earlier, tone is so important. It is amazing to me that when I meet actors who are not aware of genre, don't know the difference between, and not to like make anybody feel bad, but it's like, it's something that is very helpful once you have a clear point of view about what the difference between multicam, single cam, 1 hour, procedural, dystopian, sci-fi, Marvel. I mean? It's like, when you know these things, you can make such a lot easier informed decisions to help you. And I feel like all of the stuff that I feel like the big thing is why we get so passionate about talking about this is you want to think of as many ways as you can to support yourself.
Absolutely.
Your understanding of where you fit in what you might be reading for, what you want to do, and how you can do things, even in like an agent manager capacity, if you have representation, how you can support that. I feel like for me, a little bit of gripe and I don't want to get negative is, but people that I know and love who are actors who are not happy with their representation, and they feel
It's not
like
your rep sometimes.
my manager isn't doing enough for me. They're not getting me enough auditions, or they're getting me these auditions, but I don't want these, I want those. And it's like, babe, what are you doing to earn your 90%?
Exactly.
Because you pay 10, what can you do? You don't.
Yep.
I understand it's a catch-22. It's a hard thing if you don't have credits to try to get that ball rolling, but you can self-submit for things that are non-union. If you're not union, get some footage. If you don't have footage, if you can't get, booked on things where you can get some footage, you can absolutely practice self-taping until you feel like you have a really good, strong tape that you're proud of, that maybe your rep can help you pitch to get an audition in the genre you want to work in.
And like to add to that, like everything you just said about knowing single cam versus 1 hour versus Marvel versus this and that, that's again another example of things you can learn for free on the internet by doing research without thinking. And people will say like, well, how do I get an agent? It's like, did you go on IMDb, look at the 200 agents and email all of them? If you haven't done that, then you can't talk to me yet. Like first go email all of them. And when you've done that for 3 weeks, then come talk to me about the problems of how hard it is to get an agent. Because like, if you email 300 and 250 don't respond and 45 of them are like, go fuck yourself, then 5 people want to meet with you.
Right.
And that's great.
That's awesome.
And that's great.
And then 5 people want to meet with you. So like, and then 3 of them tell you to fuck off. And now 2 people want to sign you. You got choices.
You're right.
So, like there's ways. And then to be able to go to other people and say, I'm taking meetings, I have choices, now means you have more choices. There's so many ways to do this.
Yeah.
What I love too, that I want to also make sure we put in this conversation of leveraging your network. And I know that's a word that people don't like to use. Community, I will swap that in for community because that's my preference. Like, this is my community, right? But like, if you're building out the people who know, and trust you, right? That's just going to enhance your ability to navigate and pivot and move in this business in a way that those who are not taking that approach aren't going to be able to. Laura, you look like you was going to say something. I want to hear beautiful wisdom from you.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say one thing that I have learned from Hollywood is when they want you, they want you.
Oh, baby.
No matter what.
Yes.
So happened to me in one audition that they need me to drive. I don't drive. I live in New York so many years. I don't drive. Now my daughters drive me everywhere. But I mean, when I moved here and I went for a casting to driving, I told my agent, do they know that I don't drive? Oh, no, those are very expensive. He's not going to need to drive. I say, make sure that you tell them I don't drive. So, of course, I have a call back and they are asking me again. I say, did you tell them that I don't drive? They didn't ask you? No, they did not. Did you tell them? No, I did not. Oh, okay, so now we're in trouble. Okay, before I go to the callback, tell them I don't drive, period. They say, it's okay. So they rented this truck that it was pulling the car and it seemed like I'm driving, but I'm not. So when they want you no matter what.
That is so true, Laura. That is so true.
And a lot of times you're auditioning only because they made an offer to a name actor and they're auditioning you to bring down their quote. So they could call that person's agent and be like, hey, we got this other unknown. He's way cheaper than you. So let's bring down this negotiation. Yeah. You are just an audition to bring down someone else's quote. Come on.
But you were also auditioning to build out that network. So yes, you were bringing down somebody else's quote, but in the process for you,
bringing up your own.
You're building, exactly. You're bringing your own up. So
baby.
Go synergize that. Yes, I love it. I want to hear, like, I love that the conversation went here and went this deep. People, y'all are getting some priceless stuff here. You can send us, your love, because this is a lot of really helpful information here. I want to hear, what's that credit that either people might recognize you from, or maybe not, but that project that you worked on that still means a ton to you, that means a lot to you, that it holds a special place for you.
I have two. Oh.
Go ahead, Dionne. No, go ahead, Dionne. Go ahead.
So for me, I have two. One is stage and then one is TV. The stage one is from my 9-month tour with the Kennedy Center, doing the children's musical Alice by Whoopi Goldberg. I was a rock star. We performed for children for kid audiences, like 100, 200, 300. You get out on that stage and these little elementary school kids are screaming at the stage. I was like, yeah, I felt like a rock star. So that was one of my favorite. I mean, there's so many, but that's so memorable because kids just, they ate that up. It's a book they were reading in class. It was incorporated. And then we were traveling all over the United States performing. The second one that's been most memorable was my most recent top of show guest star on SWAT, going toe to toe with Shamar Moore, baby. And I held my own.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Yes, more stories. I love this.
Thank you.
I'm really into developing new work and like creating roles, like originating roles. And so I got to do that twice, once with Lauren Yee's play called Samsara, which was the most fun I ever had on stage. But the real one was a show I did called Disgraced. So I worked on Disgraced in 8 different iterations, and it started in a warehouse in Chicago, and then it went on to win the Pulitzer Prize. I did it all over the country. It's what brought me to LA. But creating roles that are, and working on playing one, but working on both, creating roles that are 2 brown men that are not how I'd ever seen them on stage. They're brown men that are wealthy in a well-dressed suit, that are not accented. And at that point in my career, I hadn't played a brown character that wore shoes. I hadn't played a brown character that wasn't accented. I hadn't played a brown character that wasn't a warlord or a starving servant. You know what I mean? So to finally play characters that were like eloquent, educated, smart. This is a big one. To finally play a character that the audience was on their side, that the audience was rooting for them and not afraid of them. So to do that and to do it 1,000 times and to do it all over the country was the one that I feel like still to this day, the most sort of onto.
Love that. Yes.
For me, it's kind of my most recent as well, is to like Behzad calls me all the time, action comedy star. I did My Spy with Dave Bautista, Kristen Shaw.
I don't call that all the time. Once in a while I call
all the time. But for me, it was so monumental and a moment and a project that I'll never forget, because as a kid growing up, those type of movies were the movies that I loved, like the Bad Boys, like the Beverly Hills Cops, like all those movies that were like action and comedy mixed. And I was always like, I want to do that. I want to do that. But I felt like because of me, how I looked, I was bigger, I was taller. People used to tell me that all the time. And I used to be like, I can't do, in my mind, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. And so when this audition for this movie came up, I went. And when I auditioned for it, it was nothing but like celebs in the room auditioning. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to get this. So I'm just going to go balls to the wall and like act crazy. I literally was saying like, pow, ka, cha, ka, ka, like in my audition for the action scenes. Like I was like, I'm not going to get it. So just, why not? And then 2 weeks later, my manager calls and was just like, yo, I think you booked that movie. And I was like, what movie? And she was like, the action comedy. And I was like, see, I told you. And
it was information up in there. His phone number is visible.
And so I know you sending my number out to the world. That's fine. Y'all can text me. It's cool. I got unlimited. But it was such a huge thing for me because it was a dream come true. And I was able to like, not only be funny, but also like dodge bullets and jump over shit and do all the crazy things that I dreamed of. So for me, it was a dream come true.
I love that. And in case you missed the intro, you can see My Spy on Amazon Prime right now.
And there will be a sequel coming out. All
right, boo. Let's get that franchise money. I love it. Awesome. I know a couple of you have worked, not a couple of you, most of you have worked during this lockdown time, whether remotely you've shot projects or you've been on sets that have been using COVID protocol. We would be crazy to not address that in this conversation. So let's talk a little bit about that. Just kind of contextualize if you worked remote or if you were on a protocol set and what that looked like, what that's been for you. Let's hear your thoughts about that.
I was on one of the first three projects that reopened the industry here in LA. Manifest West was I guess, indie feature that we shot up in Forest Falls. I think what helped is that they were prepared to kind of go prior to COVID. And so when things opened back up, it was quickly, able to push the paperwork through. Some of the cast and crew, we were a small crew of a crew of 10, small intimate cast. Some of the cast had quarantined for a few weeks up on location, and those that were coming in had to test prior to going to set. And so all of the crew were masked up. There was temp checks every day, masks being worn, hands being sanitized. Crafty was packaged food and delivered every day for each meal. Super, super safe, just intimate, like 1 or 2 location set. And it was great. Same thing with my print shoot. Photographer, everyone had on masks and things. I did a like remote fitting type of situation, mask on when it's time to shoot. Boom, mask off. I shot with Peter Yang, which is just an amazing photographer. So, I mean, just all the safety, all the safety. And I feel very comfortable, whether it's being on set or going to an in-person audition. And just so, I mean, it's like 10 extra steps and it's totally okay.
Great, yes.
Well, during COVID, I helped produce and also sort of co-starred in this digital series called The Gaze, written by the amazing Larry Powell. And we shot 12 episodes of a digital series over the span of 2 weeks, all remotely. So wow. we were our own sound person, we were our own lighting person, costumes, I mean, everything. And we shot over Zoom, FaceTime, and like our laptops. And they sent us like lav mics, they sent us ring lights, they sent us like a green screen. So we had to be the grip, we had to do everything. And I think for me, it was so amazing because it not only made me appreciate our crew even more than I already did. Shout out to all the crew people out there.
Shout out to the crew.
Listen, there would be no
commercial session runners.
There'd be no show without the crew, point blank, period. So
but a T at the end.
Okay.
Period.
So it was amazing to sort of have to do all at the same time, and then also also have to act and also be aware that like if the sound is off, if the light is off, if this, you know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things where it was craziness because we were all figuring the shit out because we've never had to do it before. But it's like, once you get it, you got it. And so I have a whole nother set of tools in my toolbox that I can use. And just the way things are going now, I mean, there's full TV shows now on TV that were shot remotely, that they didn't have to be around people. So it's like, if you are able to do that and have that skill, then that's already a notch that when you do audition now, when you do that, then you can say, oh, I've shot remotely before. Then it'll be like, oh, so you know what to do. Boom, So yeah, it was interesting, but it was great.
I've been doing a lot of stuff on Zoom. I feel like I've become a Zoom expert. I read a play by this playwright named Chandra Thomas on Zoom. I don't know if you heard of her.
Dope playwright.
But I've done a bunch of web series and sort of like shorts that are all remote. And I didn't get no lav mic sent to me or anything like that. But
next time, Behzad, I got you next time.
But you learn little things. You learn tech tricks, but also you learn things like right now I'm looking at you, Devere, but it actually looks better if I look at you this way. You know what I mean? And like learning little things like that and figuring out how to listen without seeing, how to take into consideration there's going to be delay. So you actually have to jump cues that you normally wouldn't jump to make timing better. And so learning things like that and like kind of all of that comes from training again, because what I feel like is interesting to bring it back is that it's not like when I was being trained, they were like, there's going to be a pandemic and you're going to be working on an online platform, and you're going to have to jump cues. But it's the ability to like go with the flow and not let it fluster you, because you have a training to fall back on that you can be outside of your body and be thinking about other things in the same way that I could be in a scene and really feeling it, but also feel that the light's not on me. So like actor brain is stepping into a light while while, you know, character brain is playing the scene and having both at the same time, that takes training.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I was approached by some of filmmakers asking me if I will be willing to play with them, being at home and shooting something with my family, but you didn't have to need a special equipment, just your phone, good light, a good imagination, and put a script together. And this project, actually, I'm like so thrilled that I don't know when it's going to be out, but it's called COVID-19 Sins and Virtues. So this is an anthology, and they were over 50 filmmakers involved,
Wow.
different locations. And this is an amazing thing, really, because for me, I have to do it with my twins, you know, because it's no other way to do it. And it's the first time I sit down and I try to write a script, and let's see how that goes. But I was like being part of a producer and learning other things, like you say. Now I have more knowledge of things that I didn't have before. This gave me the opportunity to do this at home, pretty much. So you can check the teaser or it's around there. So just check out COVID-19 Sins and Virtues, and you will check it out, and it's pretty awesome.
I love that. I love that. And we are in our last 5 minutes of convo. So if you have questions, drop them in the comments there on the YouTube Live, and we will try to squeeze them in our last couple of minutes. But I'm going to keep asking questions because I get to talk to my fam. So y'all, can we talk about, because, you know, it's clear we all are part of communities that are often marginalized in the world, in this country, and in this industry. Can we talk about how do we manage, how do we negotiate, particularly typecasting, which you kind of alluded to, Behzad, of like like the shoes thing. I'm like, it's still sitting on my soul, man. Like, how do you navigate that part of what we have to deal with in this industry?
I take an active role in conversations about representation. You read in the bio, I'm a founding member of a company called the Chicago Inclusion Project, which seeks to level the playing field for women, people of color, LGBTQ communities, and people with disabilities. It's super important to me. I've been super passionate about it my whole life. And that work is actually what led me into work with Black Lives Matter, because representation and stuff is all combined. So without talking too long, I'll just say real quick that we have to realize that the majority of Americans don't have two friends outside of their own race. So the majority of Americans don't have two friends outside of their own race. So the only people outside of their own race that they are seeing are on television, which is why representation is so important. So then when the only people you are seeing is on television, and you're only seeing Latinas as maids, and you're only seeing my people as terrorists, and you're only seeing Black people as thugs, of course you're going to believe that those stereotypes, because that's the only thing you know. And so then, of course, when your leader is telling you that there are rapists coming over from the other side, you're going to believe that because that's what you see on television. So representation is super important. I grew up in the 90s. The only person who looked like me on TV was Apu in The Simpsons, voiced by a white guy in a cartoon. That's it. Nothing else. So now when I'm working on it, I do something called the RIS test, which is there's 3 levels of stereotype. The first one is the offensive stereotype. For my people, that's the terrorist. The second one is just the stereotype. So that'd be the cab driver, the 7-Eleven owner. And then the third one is you finally get to play a nuanced role. And in thinking it that way, you know, and for Latinas, it's you're the gangbanger, tattooed thug, then the next one is the maid, and then there's the nuanced role, right? And we can do this for every group. And so now I've gotten to the point where I'm turning down the third stereotype. I'm turning down the terrorist. I'm accepting the stereotype role if it actually advances my career in a real way, which means I'll be that stereotype role for Scorsese, but I'm not going to be the stereotype role for Quibi. And then,
No shade,
level.
no shade.
Yes, not checkers.
Unless it's Quibi in the 6-figure range. and then you take the nuanced role or find ways to cater it to that. So I'm talking too much, but just to think about those things. I think about it constantly, and it's a privilege to be in this industry and not think about it.
That's very true.
Just to piggyback I think you bring up a really, really good point. For me, as an Asian American female, I think something that and I don't know if it's just because I've been in the game a little bit longer now, and I have, access to some of these things, but I've been noticing in the last year or two for me that I think when you talk about that nuanced role, right? I think traditionally 15, 20 years ago, if you look at who was in the writer's room, right? As a blanket, we can probably say it was maybe white males from 22 to 40, 45, 42. They were writing, if they were including, Asian American females, they were writing these parts, but through their lens, right? So I think to bounce off of what you were saying, a lot of these nuanced roles, it's coming from, I'm meeting a lot of Asian female writers are going to write for me just in a more accurate point of view just because we are do you know what I mean? And I think where it's been really sort of heartening to notice is that I'm meeting more and more and more of these people. I think, which is also why, Chandra, to touch on what you said, the importance of community, right? Of putting yourself out there, of doing these things like the table reads, right? Like listening, going and showing up and listening and supporting other writers in their forums to hear what is going on. That's how you meet people and collaborate with people who want to write for you specifically,
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. And I will say part of the way that I have been navigating that is, and has been the extent of my career as an actor, is being part of the storytelling and what is being shaped and formed. Which is why the writer or producer sort of is like, I consider that one word. You know what I mean? That it's just because it's so connected. And I know several of you are multi-hyphenates also. So as we start to wrap up, just to hear from one or two of you about what is it to be a multi-hyphenate and what does that mean to you as an actor?
Well, for me, it means that I'm able to tell stories that I want to see and that have never been told before, and see characters that I want to see that have never been seen before. And for me, it's like I want to be the person to write those stories. I want to be the person to tell the world about these characters. And for me also, I feel like I'm the anomaly, but like a lot of the stuff I write, I'm not in, only because I feel like I want to see these words, portrayed by actors who I love and respect. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? And I would rather do that because I feel and know that I'm going to act in whatever projects I'm supposed to be in. So when I'm writing to put other people on, to give other people the opportunity to tell these stories and inhabit these characters that they want to tell as well.
I love that. And I think that's such a beautiful place for us to start coming to a crescendo. The crescendo is me being so grateful. See, listen, y'all, I reached the part of the quarantine, lockdown, COVID, where I was like, I just want to hang out with people who I love and talk about craft, and then have other people watch us talk. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm at that part of quarantine, and I've achieved it. Thank you all so much for these beautiful, beautiful, helpful. I hope you, audience, got so much out of it. As we say goodbyes, I want to make sure people know how to keep in touch with you on socials. So I'm going to go in clockwise order on my screen. How can people keep in touch with you on socials? And talk about craft.
You can keep it. I'm at It's Devere Rogers on Instagram, and just Devere Rogers on Twitter, and Devere Rogers on Facebook. I'm rarely on social media, but I be on there sometime. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I was like, great. Nanrisa.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Devere was saying. I'm not a huge social media person, but you can find me at Chick E.D. Williams. It's ChickEeDee Williams, as in Billy D. Williams.
Awesome. Yes, Behzad.
I'm on social media all day long. So my Twitter is at Behzad Dabu, BEHZADDABU. Check me out on Twitter for political and basketball takes. And on Instagram, I'm at the same thing, at BEHZADDABU. And I'm there for funny music takes and funny videos.
All the things. Dionne.
I am Dionne Audain, and those links will all be on my link tree. Same thing, I am DionneAudain.com. Just Google me, you'll find me on the interwebs.
Just Google me.
Come on, Google me.
My lovely Laura.
For me, also Twitter and Instagram. I mean, I'm not all day long in those social media, you know, but I have accounts everywhere. So it's El Patalano, Patalano, El Patalano. So you will find me in Instagram. And tell me.
No, the way you all can just subtle gems dropped in. Laura misses red carpets. Devere works too much that the quarantine allowed him to finally stop working. Dionne is on the interwebs. Just Google her, and you can just find her. Nanrisa took over the Bay Area. Just took over the Bay Area. Y'all got subtle shades. Y'all are. I don't have it. I need to learn how to do this. Just drop in the.
I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. And I'm Chandra Thomas. You can find me on Twitter at Chandra7 Thomas, and I'm on Instagram at Chandra Thomas. You can also find all of our contact social style on the Greater Film Fest Twitter and Instagram pages. And our fabulous co-producer, who we're going to shout out, Aiden.
Yes,
Yay! She's putting it into the chat right now. Thank you again so much for joining us. We have several more events just like this with different working professionals in the industry coming up. Thank you all. I'm so glad my fam got to launch this whole move. So thank you all so much. And we'll see you. Please stay safe, y'all. And I can't wait to hug all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Ciao.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, everybody.
With you guys.
Yay.